Hello everyone and welcome to Drewski's Wargaming. I'm Drewski, and today I met up with Corey at our local game store, the Dragon Sword in lovely Lawrence, Kansas, for a game of Conquest First Blood 2.0. So I brought the unpainted Old Dominion, and Corey brought the slightly painted Wadroon. You can see his beautiful Scion right there staring down my Archimandrite. So today we played Scenario 10 Pincer. What I thought was really interesting about this scenario is the deployment zones. You see, like, I get one corner, Corey gets the other, so it makes the board feel a little bit bigger, just because of the bigger space in between. So just to run you through the victory points, you get 3 victory points for destroying the enemy objective markers, 3 victory points for each objective zone you seize, bonus 2 if you control both, plus 2 for seizing zones after destroying the enemy's objective marker, and 2 points for slaying the enemy character regiment. And this mission lasts 8 rounds. So we set up kind of a village in the forest board with the store terrain. See, we've got a couple hills, a bunch of walls, 4 forests, a couple hills, and then this next photo is just the back side of the board. Alright, so I brought the Archimandrite today with 2 Acolytes, which I converted these guys out of Praetorian Guard and just threw a Carry's hooded head and a fireball arm on each of them. And then I also brought the Unholy Sacrament, which that's a 35-point item that lets the Archimandrite cast his incantations anywhere on the board, as long as they're not range of self. Then I brought 2 Bone Golems, a unit of 5 Carries, and 6 Morai. Corey brought the Scion of Conquest with an Acolyte and a Totem Bearer having the Song of Famine, so that gives them the command ability to make an infantry unit unstoppable, and they get to count enemy casualty tokens as models for scoring zones. And then he took a unit of 3 Raptor Riders, including a Huntress, 7 Braves led by a Champion, and 6 Blooded led by his beautifully painted Aberration there in the back. Just to kind of show you my deployment zone, I had the Carries up against the board edge to work their way towards the zone across from my deployment zone. Kind of put the Bone Golems in the middle to protect the Archimandrite, and then the Morai on my far right, and their plans to go to that rightmost zone. I figured they'd probably going to die, but I was hoping their Aura of Death could cause a bunch of damage before they went out. And then, of course, the Archimandrite's hiding in the back because he is squishy. Corey kind of had a similar deployment with his Blooded closest to me, the Raptor Riders in the middle since they're so fast, and then the Braves set up to get that nearest zone to him, and then the Scion was hanging out on the hill directing his forces. So round 1, I was the first player, and there's no scoring in round 1. So kind of show you the movement. I did put up a couple spells. I think Corey put up Disruption on someone. As you can see, the Morai are going towards that rightmost zone. The Bone Golems and the Carries are going towards the left, and the Archimandrite is still hiding in the back because I paid for Unholy Sacrament, so I'm going to get the most out of my points for it. And then kind of here's Corey. He moved his Scion up with the Blooded to position on the zone to my left. And then the Braves and the Raptor Riders went to the other side of the board. So round 2, Corey was the first player, and this is the round you can start to score. So Raptor Riders started off by moving to that far table edge, because we were kind of in a stare-off where we were both outside of charge range, and no one wanted to be the first one to charge in. So Archimandrite threw up Blasphemous Prayers and cast Past Echoes on the Morai. The Blooded moved into the other objective zone. You'll see that photo here in a second. And I moved my Morai onto the edge of that table, and they used Blasphemous Prayers to cast Pyrosis on themselves, which that's one that ups their Aura of Death. And then the Braves charged into the Morai, and they killed 1. So that's that little gray skull in the zone. That's what we're using as casualty markers today. So on the other side of the board, the Carries moved up to volley at the Blooded because they'd had Disruption on them from the previous rounds, or the previous round, excuse me. And they only caused 1 wound. The Scion put Song of Famine and Disruption on the Blooded, and the Bone Golems had just enough movement to tow into the zone, and then they used Memories of Old, so they counted 6 models each, so that secured me both zones. So then I got the bonus 2 points for having both zones, so I take an early 8-0 lead. And then Corey won the roll to go first again. So he started by charging the Raptor Riders into the Morai. And he killed 3 of them. I feel like the Raptor Riders are a lot deadlier in First Blood than they are in Last Argument of Kings. And I tried to cast Pyrosis on myself again to increase that Aura of Death and failed. But I did cause 1 wound to the Braves. So the Blooded charged into the Bone Golems and hit me 4 times, and I failed all 4 armor saves. Or defense rolls, I should say. Sorry, I used to play 40k. And then the carries moved into the objective zone, and they volleyed at the character regiment, but they only caused 1 wound on the Scion. And then, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised by this, the Braves are able to finish off the last 2 Morai. The Bone Golems clashed with the Blooded, caused 2 wounds. These had terrible to hit rolls. The Bone Golems used Memory of Old again, since I can't Inspire. The Scion then threw up Song of Famine on himself and charged the carries and caused 2 wounds. And just a little note, it's a good thing he did put Song of Famine on himself, because he actually failed the initial charge. And he only needed like a 2 or a 3, and he rolled a 1. And then the Archimandrite throws up a command ability and a spell, and then starts to walk away from the Raptor Riders, because I did not want to get charged by them. So we each held a zone, so we each scored 3 points. And then going into round 4, Corey popped his Visions of Conquest, which just lets him choose which card he wants to activate each round. And he won the roll to go first. So the Blooded activated and failed all their defense rolls against the Aura of Death. And then the Survivors put 1 wound on the Golem in Combat Rally. And then I punched the Blooded back, and the Aberration's Lethal Demise actually finished off the wounded Bone Golem. So my second action had to be Combat Rally instead of Memories of Old. And the Scion tried to cast Embolden on himself, but the Arcane Interference from the carries actually prevented that from going off. And of course, he caused 3 wounds. So here's my best play of the game. So carries used Memories of Old on themselves for free thanks to the Archimandrite's command ability. I clash with the Scion's regiment, and the 2 swinging on the retinue models just miss. But the 2 swinging on the Scion both hit, and the Scion failed both morale tests. And then I cast Madness, and thanks to a great roll, I scored 5 hits, and Madness causes 2 saves per hit. So the character regiment ended up taking 10 saves on morale, and I was able to wipe them off the board. So how we played it up was the Scion saw in his mind the hordes of Old Dominion leaving Capita, and knew that all hope was lost and fled the battlefield. And then, thankfully, when the second Bone Golem went down, it was because of Lethal Demise, so he generated a casualty marker, so the Archimandrite was able to heal him back up. And then the Raptor Riders and Brave both double marched. He did leave 1 guy in the zone to make sure he'd still get the points, but as you can see, he's starting to threaten the rest of my units. So at this point, it is 16-6. And Corey won first player roll for the 4th turn in a row. And the Raptor Riders started things off by charging the Archimandrite. He directed 1 guy at the Acolytes, and then the other 2 at the Archimandrite. So he didn't quite kill me, but caused a bunch of damage. The Bone Golems finish off the last Blooded, and then use their second action to charge the Raptor Riders. But I whiffed all my impact attacks. And then the Braves charged my objective marker, but they didn't cause any damage. And then the carries failed to cast Madness, as I got cocky and thought, oh, I can tear up a Raptor Rider or 2. And then the Archimandrite decided to cast Necrosis on himself, and then he swung, but he's like Clash 1, so he failed to hit. So going into round 6, Corey left the objective zone, so I scored 3 more points. So it was 19-6, and I was the first player. And here I made a mistake. I tried to activate the carries first because I thought I could get a massive madness off again, but that was too much to hope for. And then the Aura of Death from the Bone Golems and the Archimandrite finished off one of the Raptor Riders, but then the Raptor Riders ate the Archimandrite. The Braves clashed again on the objective marker and caused 1 wound to it. The Bone Golems caused 5 wounds to the Raptor Riders. The Braves caused 1 wound to the objective marker and 1 wound to a Bone Golem. And then an Acolyte utilizing Blessed caused the last wound to the final Raptor Rider after the resolve test. So at this point I was up 22-6. It was clear I was going to win, so we just sped roll round 7. And then we called it. So just to give you a rundown, Corey failed to cause another wound at the objective marker. I think he did finish off a Bone Golem again, but my Acolyte would have been able to run away to save that 2 points for me. And then I believe those 3 Braves you see back by that building were actually casualties from Aura of Death. And because in First Blood the objective markers have 5 wounds apiece, there wasn't enough time for Corey to finish off my objective marker to score those points. So assuming we would have played round 8, the score would have been 28-6 with an Old Dominion victory. So, like I said, I made a couple mistakes. Big one was I was playing Memories of Old as lasting until the next activation instead of the end of next activation. So I was playing it like it is in Conquest Last Argument Kings 1.5. So that cost me because I think I could have gotten Pyrosis off because I would have still had the extra spell casting on the Morai. And then in round 6, instead of trying to cast Madness again, I should have just had the Bone Golems go and punch the Raptor Riders. So Corey's comments for the game. He felt like instead of the Acolyte, he probably should have put a Duelist or Bodyguard on the Scion, which means he does want to get into close combat. And thanks to his Epidermal Keratin deposits, so that's like an extra Feel No Pain roll, if you will, for those who used to play 40k. He feels like he could have dropped down the Braves to fill in, or to put in a unit of Hunters or Slingers just to get that ranged. But overall, we had a good time. We're still pretty new to First Blood, so I know we probably made a couple of mistakes. Overall, we can't wait to play again. Just for First Blood, we really hope they change it so the objective markers only have 3 wounds. Other than that, we look forward to playing more, and my next battle report should be a game of Conquest 2.0. Thank you for watching, and if you have any comments, please let me know. Bye.